Hey guys, what's up? It is week 413. Let's hop right into the reviews. The first one up is from Radiance Films. This is a 1967 Japanese film by director Katō. I think I've covered one other film from him. Was it Tojiro? Lone Yakuza, I think. And I remember having pretty positive thoughts about the movie. But 18 years in prison. So this is one of these Japanese prison films. The only ones I think I am familiar with, besides some more modern ones, more 70s, 80s ones, is the Arakasha. I can't think of the name. It's like a series. There's like 20 of them. And there was like the first 3 were put on Blu-ray, and those are pretty solid as well. So what we follow here is a soldier who is basically working this market illegally or something along those lines. He's kind of for the people kind of guy, and him and his friend are in a kind of a shootout with like soldiers in the very beginning, and he ends up becoming arrested. He gets arrested and he's put in this prison. And right in the very beginning, he's kind of put in this cell block, and he kind of realizes how it works. He's kind of no nonsense, tough as nails kind of guy. He doesn't really go out of his way to cause problems with people unless they approach him first. So what happens is a couple of these kind of idiots are in the workshop and they try to mess with him, and he completely rebels, goes against the crooked kind of the CO, who is a character actor who's in a slew of these movies. He's excellent, Japanese actor, heavyset guy. I think he's in Big Gambling Boss, and he's really excellent in that one. So what happens is he ends up somehow shifting and becoming pretty much like the den boss in this prison. Things get more complicated when his lover on the outside, this woman's brother, ends up getting put in there, and he's a troublemaker. And he sticks his neck out to kind of help him. And it gets really complex when he realizes his buddy on the outside has been doing some nefarious things towards his woman and towards, the old kind of place they used to live and all sorts of things like that. It's become a really shitty gangster. So he basically makes it his life to make things right and get his revenge. The lead actor in this film it's interesting because he actually was a real life criminal Yakuza at one point, and he kind of got stardom. And that's all in the special features. They talk about this, the films he did. So that's why his performance is very naturalistic, very kind of like, I don't want to say deadpan, but he's just very no-nonsense bullshit kind of guy. He's like that kind of like stone-faced guy with the heart of gold in a weird way. The prison is riddled with a lot of fun, quirky characters. One guy who, he's constantly like talking about how horny he is, and he's like looking at like one guy's like, you have a nice ass, but you don't look like my wife because she'd have giant breasts out here. It's just really kind of funny stuff like that. Absurd stuff. Overall, I think the movie's really well done. I think it's well acted. I think there's great tension. I think there's great acting. And it goes to some pretty crazy places at the very end. It gets a lot bigger than you would expect in a movie like this. It just doesn't exactly get bigger. It just kind of goes off the rails a little bit, where there's like a prison escape and all these kind of complicated stuff like that. Watching these movies, you see there's a lot of characters within the prison system that some are corrupt, of course, but a lot of them seemingly care more about the prisoners and more about the characters and everything like that. The guy who plays the main baddie is a ruthless son of a bitch, really good actor, really, it has a kind of crazy, mean-looking face. He's in a bunch of these, and I hate doing that because there's so many actors in these movies that I've seen, and I can never recall the names they're in. It bleeds together a lot of the times, but I really thought 18 Years in Prison was a really good film, directed by Katō in 1967, and the special features I found very interesting as well. Interview with critic Tony Raines, who's pretty big on this stuff. He talks about, the history of prison movies and stuff, and they go over all that kind of stuff and who this guy was. Both the features kind of mixed together. Visual essay on Japanese prison films by author Tom Mez. Now, going through all this stuff, I can't remember which was divided the which, but there was tons of history of Japanese prison films. There was tons of background on the lead actor and all that kind of stuff like this, and the director. Good stuff. It's always like when you come to review a movie a week later or something along those lines, you forget some of the intricate details, which means I might have to change up this format and just review them right after I watch them and start putting them in shorter episodes again, just so I can recollect more stuff and do a better job. But 18 Years in Prison by Radiance Films. Good stuff. Okay, this next one here is from Deaf Crocodile, and this is a crazy, insane movie. This is by the same group that made Adela Has Not Had Her Supper Yet, which is a wacky Czechoslovakian movie from, I think, 1978, 79. That is just really bizarre and fun and quirky and kind of mixes like I would say mystery, kind of Sherlock Holmes meets period piece nonsensical absurdity. And this one is The Mysterious Castle in the Carpathians, 1981. And this is more of the same writer, same director. These guys, I guess, did a trio of films together, and this one is pretty wild, pretty entertaining. Almost the entire same cast here reappears. The lead guy from Adela is in here, and he's kind of this opera singer who's on his quest to find his stolen fiance, and his stolen fiance has been taken to this castle, mysterious castle in the Carpathians, and he is basically helped by this other guy who's fallen, and he's basically infatuated with her because he heard her singing voice. And the villain is this crazy guy who we learn was obsessed with her voice and had to have her voice, and he basically has this escaped convict working for him that makes all these mad inventions. That guy plays the kind of partner to the detective in the Adela movie, and he's fucking fantastic. He's got a patch on his eye, he's got a fake hand. This is the kind of movie that is just so absurd and so ridiculous, but so innovative that it's kind of a must-see. I really enjoyed this one. I thought that the acting was great. I thought the set designs really shined. And there's something about these Czechoslovakian movies that a lot of the serious ones, you'll see a lot of political intrigue and stuff, and they can be kind of confusing and wild. But the wacky, crazy ones, there's a sense of humor and, I guess, whimsy that a lot of other films just do not have. These are very much their own unique kind of beast. And I don't think I've seen anything quite like it. And Deaf Crocodile's been putting out a lot of these. This one I thought was great. I thought it was incredibly funny, and I have to say that the stunts and the special effects and the set designs are kind of unmatched in quality and innovativeness. Their sets are constantly moving. We have all these little props, and a big gag in the movie is the inventor is inventing a bunch of stuff. The movie takes place in the 1800s, I believe 1860s or something along those lines, inventing a bunch of stuff that doesn't exist, like televisions and music and recording and cameras, all this kind of stupid shit like that. And the guy's mad and brilliant, and it's that kind of movie where characters just die, but it's all funny and goofy. And the main villain, here's kind of a sense of humor. The main villain is obsessed with people not having beards, right? If they don't have a nice bushy beard, they're not really classy and they're not fit. And one of his main assassins is kind of wandering around the town. He has this giant, obvious fake beard, and he's playing like dumb against the villagers. And what happens at the very end, it's revealed that he has a giant fake beard, which has been obvious. And the main bad guy's like, oh, he's like shocked and like upset about it. Just fucking complete dumbness like that. That's also like clever and silly. It does have that. It's almost like and in the comment in the special features, they said like the writer kind of took a little bit of problems with people calling it a parody. His film's parody because it's so weird, but you almost want to say it is a parody of the old kind of weird villages and being like superstitious and bizarre and wooded stuff, but it's not really at the same time because it is saying things and it's doing things that a lot of other films do not do, and I'm sure it reflects the country and saying statements about that, but it's done in such a goofy, silly, absurdist way. Parody is the only word that I think people would come up with, but it's not necessarily parody. It's just absurdity, if that makes any sense. And I think that a lot of this style of filmmaking is kind of lost in Western films, if that makes any sense. It's not exactly slapstick, although slapstick is definitely a part of it. It's just a really fun, goofy, wild ride. And I know people are thinking, I don't know if I want to watch the Eastern European films. I think I'll get lost. And I have gotten lost on some of them, like Rasputin, the period piece one. It's a great, well-made film, but it's not the easiest to digest. This is not like that. This is very easy, very fun, I don't want to say fluffy because people kind of take that as a backhanded compliment, and I don't mean that. But as far as the special features are concerned, we have a new restoration by Craig Rogers for Deaf Crocodile, new video interview with Czech film critic and screenwriter Teresa Bretovica on her father, Yuri Bredica, who's the writer of the film, who also wrote those other two movies, and I think he was involved with Prague Nights, which I covered here not too long ago. New essay by film historian and expert on Central and Eastern European cinema, Jonathan Owen. New audio commentary by Teresa Bredecki and Czech film expert Irina Kovavorova of Comeback Company. Too eerie and stunningly beautiful. Yuri Bradeka animated short films on here. We have Love in a Zeppelin, 9 minutes, and Prince Copper Slick, aka Prince Medix 13 Chamber, 9 minutes, both in Czech. And this director did numerous animated movies, and there's a funny thing in the special features, and it says, I asked my father one time what his favorite animated movie was, and he said, thought about it, he's like, none of them. He didn't like any of them, I guess, which is funny. Universe Bradeka, 84 minutes, a feature-length documentary on the life and career of filmmaker, animator, screenwriter, and illustrator Yuri Bradeka, covering his childhood, his work, and screenwriter Yuri Traka, Karen Zeman, and Oldřich Lipský, who's the director, and his own acclaimed work as an animator and director in Czech with English subtitles, Blu-ray, authoring by David Mackenzie of Fidelity in Motion. This is a Region A locked, pretty interesting, fun movie. I'd recommend checking out the mysterious castle in the Carpathians, especially if you are big into old, like, classic. It's gonna sound weird, but if you want kind of a weird, like, take on the Hammer movie, Hammer sci-fi movies, it's like, it feels very sci-fi, very comedy, but also very gothic in the weirdest fucking way. So yeah, check it out. It's very fun. Next up, we're tackling the second disc of Mabuse Lives, and this is not A Thousand Eyes of Mabuse. That was last week. First, we're going to tackle The Return of Mabuse, 1961, directed by Harald Reinl, who did a bunch of creamies, and I've covered a couple of his movies on here before. I've been familiar with his work, but he did tons and tons of German films. Creamies kind of predate the Giallo, if anybody doesn't know. So murder mysteries based off the Agatha Christie kind of little books like that. So that's a long history of thriller movies eventually turning into the slasher American movie. Long history of stuff like that. There's plenty of documentaries that cover that. But Harald Reinl basically tackled the fourth of the Mabuse movies here, and this is from a company, the CCC, who did the third to like all the ones from the 60s here. So I think 6 films in total, and he directed part 2 and 3. I think he did maybe another one too, but this one here, The Return of Mabuse. So we have some of the same cast returning here. The detective from the first film, Gertz, I think is his name, actor name. He comes back playing the same character with a different name, and what happens is there's a series of murders, one of which this lady is burned on the middle of the street, which is pretty crazy stuff. An FBI guy comes in here as well, and Len Baxter, I think is his name, and he starts to work into this thing, everything like that. And they team up at first until he doesn't really necessarily seem like he's on the up and up, if that makes any sense here. He may be a double agent. So it's apparent that Mabuse is somehow running this organization here, and some people want him to prove his power to this giant crime organization, crime syndicate that this detective has been looking into. All these murders and things like that lead the FBI agent and our detective here to this prison. And this prison is run by a very mysterious-looking man here with an evil goatee, and Werner Peters is also in this one, of course, from Bird with the Crystal Plumage is the one I know him from. He plays the flamboyant antique dealer, but watching these special features and all this stuff, you don't realize how many movies Werner Peters was in, the German films, and he's in all these movies, the first 3 Mabuse movies. He's awesome in this movie. He's got a great look, and he works at, of course, this this prison as well, and it seems that some of the prisoners have been escaping and carrying out these crimes, but they go to look who, the said prisoner is somebody else. So something's rotten in Denmark, of course, and as they start to look into it more, we know that Mabuse is behind it. But as they say, Mabuse is the man of many faces. We never know who Mabuse is from the trailers and things like that. So which one is he? People are killed that shouldn't be dead, all that kind of stuff like that. And it all leads to this kind of unveiling of mad scientists within the prison walls, creating some sort of crazy, I guess mind-controlling kind of serum thing. And there's a big shootout at the end amongst prisoners and police officers and all that kind of thing like that. But I don't want to spoil everything, but Mabuse is wearing a mask in this one. Werner Peters is good, the detective's good, and the character Joe Como, who's playing this kind of double agent, is solid as well. This one's overall fun. I liked it. I think it's a little better than Invisible Mabuse, the next one, but it's not nearly as good as the first Thousand Eyes of Mabuse, the first one from the 60s. As far as the special features are concerned, and I don't want to miss out on these, audio commentaries by film historian author David Kalat. Introductions, of course, by founder Tim Lucas. The introductions are great and a lot of information packed in them, but the David Kalat commentaries are insane. insanely in-depth. And he talks about the history of these movies, and he makes a lot of comparisons to how Mabuse and all these kind of characters like that, and the directors and things, are essentially kind of making like these Marvel-style movies. Like, in a way, at the time, there's crossover, and he goes into these details, like, imagine if, like, you know, this director was hired to make a ripoff of his own movie, and it's really in-depth and really weird and puts things in context. I think the commentary was really good. He's incredibly enthusiastic, too. He loves these movies. He knows a lot about these movies. There's no downtime in the commentary where there's just silence, you know. For the most part, he keeps it filled. Good job on the commentary. Enjoyed it quite a bit. Learned a lot as well, and his love for character actors in this, the history of them, like Werner Peters, you know, it's like one of those guys that I love. Character actors are my favorite, of course, and I'm obviously more familiar with American and Italian character actors, but as you broaden your horizons and watch more cinema, Shaw Brothers, you know, Hong Kong films, German films, you start to notice real other character actors from other countries, and you're like, oh, these guys are just as good as their American counterparts and Western counterparts and stuff like that. And Werner Peters is pretty good, and of course, watching all the Italian movies, they use such an international cast that you're probably familiar with these people, just don't exactly know their history and everything like that. But I thought The Return of Mabuse was a solid. It looks great too, and he talks about this one. I think it's this one that he said really was kind of hard to get at first. You know, he originally wanted this to get released, and you know, it was not to be, but this time it was, and looks great. Good stuff. Okay, the next in the box set is The Invisible Dr. Mabuse. That's right here. As same director, 1 year later, brings back some of the same cast, including Werner Peters and Baxter. I think his name is Baxter. I'm probably making a mistake there, but he pops back up playing the same character. He plays Joe Como, but he doesn't seem like Joe Como, because if you watch the first one that he was in, he's kind of not the same. I don't fucking know. They're asking him for help. You know, sometimes translations in English dub and German language, there's probably some differences there, but essentially an FBI agent gets killed on these docks, and it's a reporter FBI agent. It's always confusing with these movies. I can mix them all up. But so he's called in to help. He starts to investigate like this kind of circus place and everything like that, where Werner Peters plays this circus clown, which is absolutely hilarious. He just looks angry as hell in this big bozo kind of wig, and he's like, it just looks mean. He's awesome in here. And he tries to kind of figure out what the hell's going on. At the same time, you know, there's this woman doing this opera, and she's kind of being haunted by this kind of character, which sits in, you know, this giant box up there, and he's invisible. So you're like, oh wow, this is really just a great mixture of Phantom of the Opera and The Invisible Man, which I love when we mix these kind of movies together. And a lot of the French, Spanish, and German movies did that kind of stuff. You know, Jess Franco was kind of big on doing that kind of stuff, or some of those other directors. I can't think, what is the German director who did some really crummy movies, but he did kind of a mixture. He had one, The Invisible. It was the Orloff Invisible Man movie, not directed by Franco in 1970. You know, kind of mixes these weird kind of mixtures of things like that, like throwing Invisible Man in the Gothic kind of phrase. But this one is literally Phantom of the Opera meets The Invisible Man, which is a great combination. I always make the joke that I'd love to see Vampire of the Opera, Count Dracula, and the Phantom of the Opera go at it over just the main girl at the opera. I thought that would be great. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But so what happens is, you know, he's sitting in the box, and you're like, oh, is this Mabuse? Is this another one of Mabuse's plans? But of course, Mabuse is always using these kind of mad scientists to use his further his endeavors. He's always constantly hiding behind a mask or hiding behind a henchman in Werner Peters this time around. But come to find out, our old Invisible Man is a disfigured scientist. Spoiler there, which plays into the Phantom of the Opera. Why wear a mask when you can make yourself fucking invisible? Just kind of really fun details there. Overall, I like this one. Not as good as Return of Mabuse. Maybe it's fun, it's cool, it's unique, and that kind of aspect is as unique as it can be, adding all these crazy elements. Same director, another good commentary by David Collot, and another good introduction by Tim Lucas. So a lot of the carryover from the other movies kind of review here. I can't remember what commentary was what commentary and stuff like that, because it has so many of the same players in here. But yeah, good commentaries all through and through, packed with information. Fun little movie, mystery, kind of figuring it out. And oh yes, there is an army of invisible men at the end, as there was an army of mind-washed criminals at the end of the last movie. You catching a pattern here, but The Invisible Dr. Mabuse. And in the German versions, dubbed in English, they call him Mabuse. And I don't know where I've heard Mabuse pronounced, but I've always could have swore it was Mabuse. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I have been before. Okay, this next one here, I got this in the mail, and I just couldn't wait to watch it. It's from TerrorVision, and this is 1989-1990 classic American-Canadian movie. I believe it's Canadian, but it's listed as American as well. And this is The Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter 4K from TerraVision. That's right. It's got slipcover, got a poster, got a booklet, got everything in here. I know you're like, yeah, this is crazy deluxe edition for this movie. So anybody knows I am a child of the mid-'80s, 1986. So I grew up in a video store heyday of weird kind of stuff. Not exactly the heyday, but a little after. But growing up, 4, 5, 6, I was at the video store constantly. So I was always seeing weird, bizarre titles from the late 80s, early 90s, mid-80s, sometimes TerraVision. Just weird stuff. Goofy stuff. And it just caught my attention. And that's where a huge chunk of my favorite movies I developed. A love for these kind of off-the-wall, zany, goofy, early 90s, late 80s movies. And Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter is 100% that. This was a movie that I don't think I ever saw at a video store. I don't know why, but I always saw the title floating around after the internet came out, and I was like, what the hell is that movie? And I had bootlegs and stuff. There was a German DVD, so I had this dubbed in German, and I always saw parts of it, and I was like, I just feel like I'm missing some of it here. So when TerraVision said they were going to release Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter, I was like, awesome, this is going to be fun here. So, popping it in, I realized it didn't have HDR. Not a big deal, still looks really great, and looks way better than anything I've ever seen Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter look. Just a goofy, incredibly silly movie. The humor's not going to be for everybody. It's like non-stop dumb gags, characters acting like cartoons at certain times. So what we have here is a reporter who stumbles onto this power plant that's obviously has a leak in the system. They're dumping illegally, leaking, all that kind of shit like that. And there is a slew of people in the local area that are getting sick and dying. So he starts to investigate. He has a younger brother and a fiance that he's madly in love with and whatnot. And he goes to this power plant. There's a board of directors. There's like 8 of them, and they're all weird, crazy, over the top kind of character monster things. And one guy decides to throw him into the vat of toxic waste, as you would. The late 80s. It's the toxic waste time frame thing, right? With stuff like the Toxic Avenger and Redneck Zombies and all sorts of weird things like slugs. And I feel like toxic waste in the 80s and early 90s, growing up, Captain Planet was a big thing. It was everywhere. RoboCop even had a bit. So like toxic waste movies, like it's kind of a lost art, right? Radioactivity, toxic waste, people somewhat cared about the environment, but at the same time we had to like make parodies and goofy things and crazy wild things about them, sometimes serious, sometimes not, some eco horror and that. But regardless, what we got is a lot of weird shit like this. So if you ever needed something off the wall to happen, the catalyst was always going to be toxic waste, radioactivity. So why the fuck not? So they basically throw him in a vat, not dissimilar to Batman, right? And he comes out this melting kind of creature, part Toxic Avenger, part later Darkman, which would come out like the same year or a year after. So he's kind of this revengeful, weird force. He melts people to the touch. He uses his skin as like things that he throws at people, projectiles. So we have all these kind of weird powers and things like that. And he uses it to get revenge. Now, this is not necessarily a superhero movie. This is not some gritty, nasty revenge movie. It's absolutely bonkers ridiculousness, right? But it is tasteless humor at the same time, right? There's a joke suggestion at one point where the board of directors decide, how are we going to get rid of the fiance? And they're all throwing out methods. One guy's like, why don't we sexually assault her and slowly asphyxiate her? And everyone's like, oh, yeah, sure. And then, like, that guy's like, ugh. He's like, I'll do it. And, like, just kind of, like, trashy humor like that kind of was the go-to at the time. So what happens is he picks them all off, and he has to show that his girlfriend that now he's a gross toxic waste kind of guy. And how's this going to end, right? It's not going to end, leave a room for a sequel. But Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter is a lot of fun, a lot of weird characters, a lot of goofy gags, fun special effects, solid acting for what it is. The acting is done like this on purpose, right? Now, something else I would compare this to is like in The Invisible Maniac or something. Not as horny as The Invisible Maniac, but what would be as horny as The Invisible Maniac? But I really enjoyed this thing, man. I had a lot of fun with it. Like, this is totally made for me, right? This kind of goofy silliness is made for me. Bunch of features on here, as you would like to see. Commentary by Craig Pryce, director, co-writer. David Wold, co-writer. David Schrammel, Mike R. Wave, that's the guy he plays. And Greg Vestaro, Randy Koch, sorry. Then we also have a commentary with Paul Kropp of Kinexploitation and film historian Jason Pichowski, making Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter. These are always my favorites because I know this sounds bad, but when time is limited, the making ofs are really good. You got like, a bunch of the key players in here, and it's like a 25-30 minute making of, and they're interviewed, and they recollect on the movie. And basically, one of the buddies was in a hospital for something serious, and he had like 6 months in the hospital. He said, hey, his other friend approached him, director's like, let's write a script. Let's write this movie. And they laid in the hospital bed, and they wrote Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter, high on pain pills and drinking some brewskis, and what happened was a concoction of madness and silliness. So that's basically the origins of it. And Origins and Advice meet the makers of Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter. Then we have Remembrance and Ruminations of Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter. Alliteration is their friend. VFX discussion with Craig Pryce and visual effects supervisor John Galecki. The name sounds very familiar to me. Radioactive Reporter screening with Q&A 2024. So a bunch of features, a bunch of gooiness. So if you like your melt movies, then check out Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter. If you like them a little less mean-spirited than Street Trash, which I love the original Street Trash, but it's pretty fucking mean-spirited. Nice little booklet and everything like that. Yeah. You know what? TerrorVision has been after my heart lately. They've been putting out a lot of goofy, weird stuff that totally speaks to me. I like their stuff, and they got a lot of contemporary titles too, or late 2010 or something, stuff that I loved going up. So like TerrorVision is one of my favorite newer. It's not newer; it's been around forever, but I'm lately TerrorVision has been doing a really good job, and I enjoy what they're doing. Okay, next up is the 1995 fucking classic here, Rumpelstiltskin. Oh boy, in a world, like, I never thought we'd see a 4K of Rumpelstiltskin TerrorVision. If somebody said that 5 years ago, I'm like, shut up. Just shut up. But, Vinegar Syndrome putting out Tammy and the T-Rex and all sorts of wild, weird movies. We're getting some of the most bizarre shit on 4K of all time. Rumpelstiltskin, directed by Mark Jones, the director of Leprechaun here. So, I actually really rewatched the first Leprechaun. It's been years since I've done that. And I had a good time with it, man. I watched the making of it, and I was like, I get where they're coming from, and I think this is pretty cool stuff. Mark Jones seems like he knows what the hell he's doing, and just seems like a pretty cool guy. So, Rumpelstiltskin, rewatching this one. 95, it's produced by Dino De Laurentiis, which blows my fucking mind. Dino De Laurentiis is a madman. The stuff he produced in the 70s and 80s, it goes unmatched in wildness. The only people that can match that is Cannon Films. So without Dino and Cannon, man, we wouldn't have got some of the wild rides that we got. So I'm grateful for those. So Rumpelstiltskin, where do I put this? And this is probably inaccurate. I really do think they were like, man, we directed Leprechaun. If we would have had more money, we could have done some more things. The writer and director are sitting there involved with this. And like producer and director, Mark Jones, I think is the writer as well. But they're like, we could have done more with this. So they did Rumpelstiltskin. It feels like they're like, you don't get to direct Leprechaun 2. And he's like, fuck it, I'll make my own Leprechaun 2 with truck chases and explosions. And that's what he did. He made Rumpelstiltskin. I'm going to be honest, Leprechaun 2 is a piece of shit to me. I think it's terrible. I think it's a crappy cash-in, rushed, bad movie. And that's like what happens in a lot of sequels. The first movie does well, and then they pump out the next one. Sometimes they have success with latter sequels like Leprechaun 3 and whatnot, but every once in a while, every once in a while, but most of the time the sequels are rushed and crappy. It happens a lot. Not always, but it happens. So Rumpelstiltskin. The first thing I noticed in this is, yes, the acting is a little patchy, a little goofy, but it's kind of on purpose. It has that goofiness, right, where it's like purposely kind of silly with all the actors and characters and whatnot. And one of the main characters in here is like a stand-up comedian, so it's a joke a minute when he's introduced. And Rumpelstiltskin in folklore, wants to get the firstborn baby, and you have to guess his name. If I remember, it's been a long time since I've read the real story of Rumpelstiltskin and whatnot. You got to guess his name to get your child back or some shit like that. So we have like kind of a period piece moment here where we have Mark Holton from Leprechaun and Leprechaun Returns and Pee-wee's Playhouse and Teen Wolf and stuff's in there for 5 seconds. Didn't even recognize him. So I saw in the credits, that was Mark Holton. That's wild that he's in here. And listen to the commentary, he mentioned it as well. So and we kind of learn Rumpelstiltskin's backstory, and he's like put into a weird little statue thing, very Wishmaster, very Leprechaun, and somebody, of course, gets the statue. The tears fall on it when she loses her husband in a pretty violent, shootout. He's a cop, and he gets killed, and there's a head squib. Pretty wild stuff. Great squibs. That's another thing I love seeing in 1995, shot on film. squibs, explosions. Man, we're living at a different time back then. So what happens is, you know, she cries on this statue, and it brings Rumpelstiltskin back, and he thinks, you know, you owe me your firstborn baby. So she's basically running the entire time. Rumpelstiltskin's chasing her, making quibs, making goofy jokes. He's not as good as Warwick Davis, let's be honest. The character's just not. The writing's just not. The acting's fine. It's dedicated. It's silly. He has a decent look to him. I could have swore this was a small person. It's not. It's a guy literally hunched over running. God, this guy's back must have been killing him. I swear to God. But so I could have swore it was a small person. In the comment, they're like, no, he's just a normal guy, ducked down, hunched over. I'm like, what the fuck? But you know, as it progresses, he runs into cops. He kills cops. He kills everybody that comes in contact with him in increasingly silly, goofy gags. There's big you know, like there's squibs, there's car chases, there's this crazy truck chase, and I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? Rumpelstiltskin gets on a motorcycle. Hell yeah, he does. Is this movie great? Absolutely not. Is there a gag or a joke every fucking second? Yes. Is it entertaining? Yes. Is it a staple of 90s crapola stuff that you'd rent? Yes. Did I watch this 3 or 4 fucking times when it came out? Yes. Do I have fond memories of it? Not exactly. But did I have fond memories rewatching it? Yes. You know, it's funny, those movies, like, I don't know, I watched this 5 times, but I did, so I gotta re-get it and watch it, you know? And, yeah, it looks really good for what it is, you know, on 4K. It does have HDR. And I just was really kind of, you know, happy rewatching it. It's not a masterpiece. It's something that just I have a fondness for the time period of film. And I think that these guys did the best they could. And they didn't really pull. They did everything they could. Now, these guys are incredibly silly in the commentary. You like hear what is the director, the producer, and the lead actor making jokes and gags every 5 seconds. The making of as well. These guys just seem like genuinely fun, cool guys that don't take themselves too seriously, and it shows in the movie. And it doesn't seem like a lazy movie. And you know, some very often that a movie where everybody doesn't care, they don't take themselves seriously, the movie suffers for it. And I don't think that's the case. I mean, the movie is goofy and silly, but that's exactly what it's supposed to be. But I don't think they skimped on special effects or you know, technical effects or anything like that. So Rumpelstiltskin's a fun, decent, solid movie from TerraVision here. What's on the special features? We have commentaries Mark Jones and producer Michael Prescott. Making of Mark Jones, Max Grodenchik, Kim Ulrich, Tommy Blaze, Michael Prescott. It's producer Charles Bernstein, composer. I didn't even know Bernstein did the music here, but it's pretty solid. Of course, he did Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. No, that's Christopher Young. He did Nightmare on Elm Street. Charles Bernstein did Nightmare on Elm Street. See that? Your mind tries to play tricks on you. You gotta correct it. Ivo Christine, production designer, and Lisa Bueno, key makeup artist. Never before seen BTS raw home movie footage shot on VHS from set of Rumpelstiltskin. Baking with Casey Hansen, the homicidal homemaker. Rumpelstiltskin edition. There we go, man. 87 minutes, 1995 Paramount movie. Fun crap. Recommend it if you like this sort of thing, and I do. Okay. All right, this one's going to be very quick here. I know it's going to get a 4K from Scream Factory, so I've been like holding off watching some of the John Woo movies, but this is a better tomorrow. I was just in the mood to watch some John Woo, to watch some high-flying, badass action, 1986. I never saw Better Tomorrow. I've seen Hard Boiled Killer, some other ones, Face Off, but some of his early work, like his 1982 horror film, or some of his Shaw Brothers stuff, but I was like, you know, I never saw Better Tomorrow. There's 3 of these. I know Part 2 is the big one here. This stars Tai Lung and Chow Yun-fat, and John Woo himself, some other people, but Tai Lung from all the Shaw Brothers movies, and he's got such a great, like, cool demeanor about him in those movies. He's like such a good heroic type. I loved him in the Shaw Brothers Volume 3. I watched a bunch of his movies, and he's fantastic in them. I liked him a lot. And he's with Chow Yun-fat. Chow Yun-fat, you know, 86, so like stuff like Seventh Curse and Witch from the Pole were being made, and I don't think you know, this was out yet when he made those. So like, I think this is the one that kind of broke Chow Yun-fat into like kind of more of a mainstream audience here. So Tai Lung and Chow Yun-fat are these counterfeiters, and the police attack, and they kind of end up getting screwed over. Tai Lung ends up going to jail and whatnot, and his brother's upset with him. His father is sick, and some bad guys come to his house when he's in prison and everything like that, and they kill his father. His brother never forgives him. Tai Lung gets out of jail, and he wants to make things right. He wants to approach his brother and make amends. He doesn't want to be involved with this life of crime. Since then, Chow Yun-fat had been injured, and he's kind of a loser. He's kind of washing cars, and their other partner has made it big time. He's a gangster. He runs the organization. He's kind of a piece of shit. And he approaches Tai Lung, and he says, hey, we want you back in, and we want you possibly to do this kind of thing. And Tai Lung wants nothing to do with it. The police are putting pressure on him. His brother's putting pressure on him, and his gangs are putting pressure on him. What happens is Tai Lung eventually gets involved with this, this, and he gets brought back into the fold against his will. But he wants to make things right with his brother. That's his number one concern. And what happens is plenty of shootouts, Chow Yun-fat kind of being crazy with his bad leg, shooting people, taking out a bunch of people in violent ways. The squibs hit hard. The action hits hard. The drama is super high in this one. The brotherly love is super high, almost to the point of homoeroticism a lot of times between Chow Yun-fat and Tai Lung, where it's like grabby, like, oh, it's just like, it does seem really intense in this one, more so than usual. It's got like some 80s, like, you know, machismo kind of like sentimentality going on, to the point where if you're not invested, you will laugh hysterically at how cringy, you know, it is. But I was invested. I got into it. Good music, good acting, good shootouts. And the very end, you know, I saw the sequels, so I didn't know exactly where this was going to go, and I was kind of surprised that some people got killed, and I was like, holy shit. Love Tai Lung in this. He's just great. And it was a different performance from him. You know, he's older, you know, he doesn't look like he used to, but he's still great in here. And I always thought, I don't know how to explain this to him. He's got such a good innocent nature to his face, his smile, you know, but I really enjoyed this one, and it's great. And it's, you know, the heroic bloodshed kind of films, one of the pinnacles, I guess, A Better Tomorrow. Great stuff. All right, we're getting to those 1982 movies. Now, the first one, it's listed as a horror movie on Internet Movie Database, and it's not. It's a Deadly Encounter, and I could have swore this damn thing was a TV movie. It's also not. I think it had a theatrical release. It has Larry Hagman in here, James Gammon, and this is fun for a major reason here. Helicopter chases are fucking intense. They're scary. They're wild in here, and they're plentiful. So, Larry Hagman, I think I know him from the sequel to the Blob, the 70s Blob movie, but he's in a slew of stuff that I'm not super familiar with here. But, you know, I'm sure that my friend, something like Coakley will comment, Ken Coakley, on here about Larry Hagman. He leaves a lot of good comments about some actors I don't always go into depth about. A lot of times I know, sometimes I don't. Larry Hagman's a guy I don't know much about, but he's this helicopter pilot from Vietnam. He basically resides in Mexico and does jobs back and forth. And he had kind of a falling out with this woman he loved, and he was taking advantage of by her, and he ended up getting kind of arrested. So he kind of, it's like this thing where he stays away from a lot of things. He still keeps in contact with his old Vietnam buddies like James Gammon, who's a character actor and stuff, like Silver Bullet and a million other movies here. He's got a raspy voice. I think he's even in the guy in Natural Born Killers who gets killed in the opening of the diner scene. That's if I'm remembering correctly. But so she approaches him and says, I'll give you $5,000 to take me to Arizona. And he's like, I don't really want to get involved with you anymore, yada, yada, yada. He sees her get kidnapped on a helicopter, and he decides to try to save her. Well, basically, she's kind of kidnapped on the road, and he ends up saving her. And shit gets crazy when she's kidnapped on a helicopter, and he ends up chasing this other helicopter through all these wild kind of terrains and shit like that, gets her, and then what happens is a slew of a lot of helicopter chases, a lot of wild crazy shit, and they figure out that she had basically stolen money and a bunch of other things from this kind of crime boss that ended up killing her husband. So yeah, that's basically the plot of the movie. It's not really a horror film at all, and they're constantly bickering and arguing, but they're still in love. Or is she manipulating him? It's a hard choice for him to make. Overall, Deadly Encounter is solid, but it's not great, but it's great for the helicopter chases. The acting is fine. It's all people complaining about the acting. It feels like a decent TV movie acting, although I don't think it was necessarily a TV movie. The action's solid due to the helicopter chases. So, Deadly Encounter, listed as a horror movie. It absolutely is not. Okay, this next one was a BBC TV movie, if I'm not mistaken. This is Ghost in the Water. I'll be relatively quick with this movie because it is a slog to get through. It's very short, about 50 minutes. These two kids kind of stumble on this woman who supposedly committed suicide years and years ago, kind of like, 17th, 18th century, I can't remember exactly. But they want to kind of clear her name, where they go to this bridge and everything where she jumped off, and they start to have like ghostly things happen, and the whole thing is basically they want to clear her name, and they're getting haunted by all these things like that. Overall, there's not much to be said about the movie. I think the acting's kind of subpar. I think the dialogue is pretty horrible. I think it's meandering. I think it's boring, and I don't understand the popularity of this movie. I don't really maybe I missed something. I can't recommend this. The quality of the print I saw wasn't necessarily great, but Ghost in the Water, really short review. Cannot speak well of this one, really. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it was great in 1982 when you saw it on BBC or something, but it doesn't really hold up, to be honest. And I don't think really the kid actors went on to do much of anything else, but that's Ghost in the Water. Mediocre. Very mediocre. Okay, the last 1982 movie, I was like, I need something classy. I need something good. I need something different. So I decided to watch Funny Frankenstein here by Mario Bianchi, who directed Satan's Baby Doll. He did a couple of other movies too, Murder Secret. And this is an adult film from 1982. Originally, I wasn't going to cover this because I had the video with Joe Rubin about adult horror films from 1982, and this one didn't have subs, but I did my AI subs, and I was like, hey, it's 63 minutes. Let's watch some Funny Frankenstein. Not really a horror movie either. But, you know, it is very adult. It's the big actors in here are Aldo Sambrol from all the spaghetti westerns and Satan's Baby Doll and Men of War, and Mark Shannon from, you know, Porno Holocaust. I think he's in Erotic Nights of the Living Dead too. So like those kind of guys right there, you know, some porn actors. Although Aldo Sambrol is not a porn actor, but right now I'm starting to think that maybe he fucking is, because I've seen a couple movies where he gets down and dirty. Aldo Sambrol, what are you doing? So basically this is, the subtitles weren't great either. There's a lot of great American needle drop music. They're like Washing Away the Rain, like a couple songs in here that I was like, oh, these are kind of catchy songs. This is chopped the fuck up. You can tell it's missing 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something like that. They'll be like, have a sex scene in a song, they're like, boop, just cut. It's very poorly edited and choppy. It's missing a lot, I think. This is from an Italian VHS, from my understanding. So these two reporters basically are on their way to kind of discover something. They get invited to this castle, and it's very bizarre, very weird, and the women are irresistible, but you know, they're scared and they're goofy and they're having funny antics. In the very beginning, Aldo Sambrol's super horny, and he has like 2 sex scenes right off the bat. You're like, it's wild. It's like Aldo Sambrol is we're going with, like, not Mark Shannon having the sex scenes. Aldo Sambrol, the, you know, middle-aged guys going in there and banging some out. I'm like, whatever, man, whatever you guys want to do. But there is a funny scene where he visits what I think is a prostitute, and she's like, will you wear these? And it's panties and everything, and he's like, you like women, don't you? She's like, because she's obviously kind of always trying to make him dress up as a woman when they have sex, and she's like, I do, but I like them with big cocks like you. And I was just like, I don't know if the AI subtitles are wrong, but it was funny to see Aldo Sambrol have to wear ladies' underwear and have that line delivered to him. But yeah, as it progresses, they end up going to this haunted castle, and all these kind of weird characters, including a clearly flamboyant gay guy who's hitting on them, comes out, and we like are introduced to all these weird veiled women who are walking around naked, one with a heart on her butt that says "Follow me," and they start to kind of have sex with them and suck them dry, suck their life force, if you will. It's all gags, it's all funny. No one really dies, no one's really hurt. And they go back, and everything's a funny, like, kind of LARP at the reporter's office. Like, oh, shucks. So it's Mario Bianchi's movie. Not better than Satan's Baby Doll. Not even close. Much better than something like The Babysitter from 1982, or a couple of the other Phil Prince movies, and, you know, the Carter Stevens movie from 82. So it's not the worst adult horror film from 1982, and I wouldn't call it a horror film. I say it has horror tropes. I want to be, you could be a dick and say nor funny nor Frankenstein. It's definitely not Frankenstein. There's no fucking Frankenstein in this movie. I paid for a movie with Frankenstein, and I want to see some Frankenstein dick. But no Frankenstein. So if you're looking for some funny Frankenstein, look somewhere else. If you're looking for some, look for Mel Brooks. But if you're looking for some adult film with Aldo Sambrol, Mark Shannon going to a castle and having some sex, then this is for you. Okay, the Patreon pick here is Jason Willard, I think. This is Hydra. Now, this is a super low-budget Japanese martial arts film, very much tropey in its plot points and stuff like that, but that doesn't stop it from being an entertaining movie. So what we have is kind of this guy who works in this bar kind of restaurant. He's quiet, he's tough, he's the cook, and he's watching over this woman that works there, this young girl, and he has like a fatherly, presence of her. There's another guy that works there, a younger guy that likes the girl, and, he doesn't really talk much. He's kind of scary. He's got like a Charlie Bronson scary thing going on. Charlie Bronson was jovial and funny at times. This guy, he doesn't even have that. I don't even know how to go about it, but he's very intense. But what happens is one day this kind of Japanese business guy goes in there, and it looks like he's drugging and sexually assaulting women. And he tries this on her. And what happens is this guy follows them, realizes what has happened. Both the young man and the young woman have been kind of drugged and knocked out, and he loses it. He beats the shit out of this guy, and he's about to kill him, but he just doesn't. But what happens is you realize he has some expertise in certain subjects in fighting, and somebody was watching him do this kind of deal. So what happens is we learn that he was an ex-assassin, and these guys have been looking for him and watching him. Some other guys approach him and say, "Man, we want you to come back to the program and kill some people for us, these bad guys." And his job used to be to kill kind of like crooked cops or people that nobody could know that needed to be taken out. But what happens is somebody starts targeting this group of people, including him now, even though he's not really in the group still, and he basically has to fight for his life. There's some really great hand-to-hand combat fighting stuff with knives that's really excellent amongst him and amongst some other people as well. The kind of guy leading this kind of evil organization is from Tetsuo the Iron Man. He plays a salaryman in that movie, so that was cool to see him in here. But yeah, we have some really great fight scenes, some really fun characters. He's a good character. It's super low budget, and it shows only in its filming, its camera quality and stuff like that. I think everything else is pretty much on par. I think the acting is solid. The story is fun too. I mean, it's very much a very tropey story, but it just has good martial arts stuff and good characters, and I like the setting of the restaurant. So that's Hydra. Would recommend checking this out. I know it has a Blu-ray, but yeah, it's pretty fun stuff. Director only did a few films. He acts in this as well. He's done a couple acting jobs, but yeah, check this one out. Low budget Japanese martial arts cinema, pretty good stuff. Hydra. All right, let's get in these questions, comments, and concerns. Now, remember, I recorded this a little early, so if your question was not asked, just let me know or ask it next week. Tipsy Bones, great reviews and video. Thank you. Nick Moore from Belgium. How can anybody hate on Deep Rising? It's such an old-school monster flick with a decent budget, not to mention top-notch actors. I love that it got such a good release by Scream Factory. It was Kino Lorber, but okay. Supposedly, the commercial failure of the flick put Mr. Steven Sommers off of making straight horror movies, so he opted for a more comical tone for his Mummy movies. I like those very much, so sue me or subject me to the Mummy's curse. I do have some mixed feelings about the critter. I was intrigued by Anthony Harold's description as Archaida Acturia, deep sea worms with golf ball-like heads and body shaped like pencils. So creepy. Then it turns out it's just the Kraken, Octalis, according to the script. Other than that, no complaints. My antiviral collector's edition ride today. It looks great. Thanks for the recommendation. No problem. Questions. Which monster reveal disappointed you a bit, though not too much? Which one really bummed me out? Trying to think. What was that movie? Geez, it had, I think it's Kevin Durant in it, and it's like a kind of a like snow movie. A winter horror film. I can't think of what it was called. It came out probably 5-6 years ago. I remember that kind of having a shitty creature in it, and I cannot remember what it's called. I'm sure somebody remembers it. How would you get out of Deep Rising situation? Use your fist of thunder, holler, and hope Famke Johnson comes to the rescue? I'd probably fucking die like everybody else in the movie. I don't know how to... I mean, I can drive a jet ski. Who can't once you're on it? But I don't think that would really work out. I mean, if I'm on the boat, I'm dead. I'm dead. That's just such a bad situation that you're like, I hope I die quick. I hope I die quick, and I hope I die right the fuck away. But, if I'm going to try to live, but I just don't see much people surviving that just on unluckiness alone. Thank you again. Got it soon. God willing. Take care. Thank you. What the flick? I think it's funny when I find out a movie that I loved growing up is laughed at by the majority, like Waterworld, Howard the Duck, and Master Universe. Yeah, I don't give a shit either. I'm just like, it's a talking point, so I talk about it. And a lot of times, some of the most funnest ways, some of the funnest things to talk about, or most fun things to talk about when you're talking about a movie is look at the things that people say negatively and try to counter them. Like you're almost arguing with yourself, and just to give talking points and maybe dig deeper into the movie. Sometimes I like doing that and whatnot. It's just kind of fun. But Collectus, yeah, Rennie Harlan is a solid director. Cloud Island is awesome. Deep Blue Sea is a fun ride, and The Devil's Pass is actually really creepy. I think I need to watch The Devil's Pass. Kentucky-Tater. Sorry I don't comment much anymore. I've been going through some real life shit. Nothing serious health-wise, just relationship stuff. Your weekly videos serve as a constant source of entertainment, even if I don't comment much. Thanks. I hope you get through it. And remember, everybody's been through it. Maybe not necessarily exactly the thing you're going through, but people have been through things, and they've made it. And good luck, and I hope it passes fast. That's all you can hope. And remember, nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent, right? You'll get over it, and you'll remember. You'll think back, I can't believe I thought like that, or I thought it was the end, or I thought this and I thought that, and then later you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like I do it all the time. So good luck, buddy. Thanks for the comment, and thanks for watching. Way up, dude. He gives me a hand waving. Thank you. And Gray Nunez gives me heart, eyes. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? We're going to get into... Remember, I did this a little early, so if your comment did not get mentioned, just do it next week or something like that. But let's hop into the update here. It's very short, so I'm going to be quick with it. We have a few 4K upgrades from Screen Factory. This one's got a little crinkle on the slipcover. I'm going to have to send it back, you know. I'm just kidding. I can't do that because the one time I did do that years ago when I was like, I don't know, my slipcover's damaged. I sent it back and they sent me a new one without a slipcover, and I was like, oh. So I was like, just shut up. So I got these on the buy two get one Target sale, so they're like $29 a piece, which is kind of expensive, but they're movies I enjoy. At least two of them are. The first one up is Humanoids from the Deep from 1980. Love this movie. Always love this movie. So it's got theatrical and unrated cuts in 4K here. Love this movie. New film a commentary too. Russell Dyball. I don't know, but this is a fun, awesome movie. 1980 Humanoids from the Deep. And then next up is Galaxy of Terror. All three of these are Corman-produced movies, another 4K. Always enjoyed this one as well. Great cast in here from 1981. And then last is Forbidden World, my least favorite of the three from 82. I'm going to rewatch this one in 4K, that's right, and as director's cut as well. You know, I always think I watch the shorter version. I'm definitely going to watch the director's cut in 4K. Decent cast in this one too. Fun, goofy, but not nearly as good as the other two. But that is Forbidden World, not to be confused with Forbidden Planet or Fantastic Planet, which I often do. But yeah. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching, and as always, have a good one.